Small, beautiful forest lane leading down here to where Himmler was staying when he was visiting East Prussia. Not far from the SS headquarters and their bunkers, and Hitler's headquarters and his bunkers, and the German High Command and theirs. They're all centered around this small town here in East Prussia, alongside with a lot of military in the area leading up to here in the surrounding area. From here there was always a lot of military bases, barracks, soldiers stationed. This was German territory before the war began. Got another military vehicle passing us here. There's a lot of military still going on here today. There's a Joint Forces training base, US Polish, some 30 clicks from here. But you know what, sorry you guys, I see you a lot in my everyday life, so if you don't mind, I'm just gonna stick to history and do my own thing, unless I need a PX and some more bug spray. Yeah. Oh, now I recognize it. I've been here for a lot longer than from when Himmler moved in here. And there it is. His house where he was staying. I think there's only a staircase left. It's just interesting to see. I did not see any security measures or whatsoever coming in here. We're here in Prussia at one of Himmler's residences, and you really cannot blame him. This is absolutely gorgeous out here. It's a hotel today, so you can actually say you went to East Prussia and stayed at Himmler's place. You can smoke cigars, because I don't think he liked those. Now, I will admit, having expected Himmler having been raised by a Catholic schoolmaster, I would have thought him a bit pedantic and not really one to imbibe in cigars. However, he did. There are more pictures of Himmler smoking cigars than there are of his actual field headquarters. But then again, he also did have an affair with his secretary, and I guess he had more fun than we thought. And here he is, smoking even with his children. What a Nazi. But for the view alone, this is a good enough reason to be here. This is, you can see why he picked this place to stay. Pretty sure next time I'm in Prussia, I might pick this place myself. Interesting thing was, coming in here, I did not see anything that looks like guard posts, security, anything. No remnants of buildings. This looks familiar. This type of road work. But yeah, if I was going to run a war, this is where I would do it. Now, I will say this is an absolutely gorgeous place, and you can stay here since it's an actual hotel, so you can go over how you want to run your war. The actual house Heinrich Himmler lived in, and especially stayed here when Hochwald was built, is no more. There's only a foundation left and a small staircase leading up to it. Why would you not want this drive to be your drive on the way to work? There's very little indication from the main road, which is right behind me, that there ever was anything here. For this to have been the SS field headquarters, we're not looking at much other than woods. Nature claimed a lot, so I think we're going to have to go look for it. Now, of course, when Himmler wasn't flying, he would have his special train, Sonderzug Heinrich. It would be parked on a siding where he would work from for several months while accommodations were being built here, close to Hitler's headquarters and the army's headquarters. Feldkommandostelle Hochwald. It consisted of 5 large reinforced concrete Type B bunkers and about 20 large wood and brick buildings, underground garages, there was a transformer station, telephone and telegraph center, radio center, dining rooms, a cinema, staff barracks, sauna, and a lot of other supporting facilities. It was not nearly as large as Wolf's Lair, with only about 35 to 40 support staff and servants, and 500 SS men working. It was surrounded by barbed wires, minefields, and extremely well camouflaged. It was constructed by the Tod organization, and throughout its duration, Hochwald was commanded by SS Obersturmbannführer Josef Tiefenbacher. There's only one thing I can do out here at Himmler's old SS headquarters, or their field headquarters, is I can spray myself with an insane amount of deadly poison to ensure that the mosquitoes don't eat me alive, and then we can go for a walk, long walk, because we have to look for everything here. Nature has reclaimed a lot of it, and it doesn't look like it's been kept as an active museum, which makes it interesting. And for a lot of us, when we like to go exploring and we're not entirely quite sure where you're going, just a quick tip is always bring a little bit of water, keep a compass, and check your GPS. My GPS, I don't reach out here, so I need a map and a compass, just in case I need to find my way back the hard way. One of the access roads coming in from here, from the main road, from the small town here, and here down past the foliage you see an outline of a very large bunker, and the road leading through the area. What I want to go look for is signs of security measures coming into the area. And look at the enormous construction. We walk in here on the little path, see the first sign of something very large. And here's the first sign of a security line of a trench flanking the bunker, parallel with the road. And when you start looking and exploring through the landscape, now we start seeing access panels down below. It's round with a square hole in it. It's not a Tobruk, however, and there were ladders coming down here, so this could have been a sewage hatch. I don't see any machine gun emplacements or possibilities here, and usually machine gun positions are round, not with a square top, so this, don't see a bottom, and I don't see any pathways underneath. So I don't think this was part of the outer perimeter defense, or the inner perimeter defense. Here we have the first. The Type B bunkers were built to withstand a 500-pound aerial bomb. There was a 80-centimeter wide hallway running throughout them with double gas-tight doors blocked at both ends and firing ports. There was also an internal emergency system with lighting, ventilation in each bunker. In early 1944, Himmler's bunker was reinforced with another outer shell. You know, I've seen a lot of these. This is a very large above-ground construction. This is pretty damn big. It really is. This is somewhat surprising. And the familiar cement roof. And obviously, they tried to blow this, or they did. You see the walls separating. Now the first room. Again, it was blown up well. See the walls coming apart on the inside and separate all the way up. Inside these bunkers, outer shell was an inner shell that was separated. So in case of an air attack, it wouldn't destroy the inside. Never seen blocks quite like this before. And obviously the roof is about 6 feet over my head from where I'm standing. What I'm interested in is we had, that's what that was, we had pieces of wood in between these for the nails. So you could have put a comfortable inside wall of wood that you could have painted and clad. I don't know how elaborate the decked out Himmler's bunkers were, if they were for military use. It was more a heating or insulation issue. You would think the boss may have had something a little nicer. Let me see, here's the corner where the wall is separated and all the rebar is sticking out. And every one of these is separated by what looks like 2 inches of wood. And this is interesting because the rubble inside here didn't come from the ceiling. The ceiling held. That's thick cross beams. So all the rubble in here, I don't actually know where it came from. Could have come from the walls from the inside. There's presumably what was another door. 2 parallel doors leading into a room, or this would have led into another room. No, this leads out to the hallway. And here, it's only 3-4 feet. Very solid bar sticking through here. And a little alcove in here. Again, it's very hard to see. There's no sign of hinges or anything else. But there are pieces of rebar sticking out, and again what looks like a foundation. Hello. 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 I'll come back out to the same hallway again. That's pockmarked with holes, presumably from the demolition. And there are pieces of the ceiling here that have been peeled back. This is where I would wonder if they drilled holes. This is where I'd wonder if they drilled holes like with regular demolition of mine excavation to blow it, or they just left large explosives next to the walls. Would have been interesting to know, because they expended a lot of munitions to get this result. And it's still standing. And I wager if there's a 250 kilo bomb dropped on it, I don't think that would take it down. See, here's a separating hole up here between the 2 sections. The gravel came in. And I walked through to one room. So you literally have all of this for one 20 by 20 room. And you see it cracked all the way down. So you got this enormous bunker and it cracked down the side, straight down the middle here. I had a couple of kids that was in here just before me. I said, oh, just go in there if you can. Alright, I'm going to put my backpack down for this. This is a very, very narrow little hole here. Let's see what we can do on that. If the skinny teenagers can do it, I can damn well do it. And if I can't do it, then they'll find my bag on the outside with the hard drives. And someone will remember me in posterity and say, hey, that was that idiot who crawled around inside the bunker till one finally fell on him. Alright. Look at this. Look at this, look at this. So, looks like sticking out a piece of rebar. So this would have been the outside. This is the outside wall and the inside bunker. This would have been the separation between the inner and outer shell. So the inner sunk from the explosion, but the outer stood and held. Wow. Wow. That really is something to see. Alright, Fatty's gonna crawl out through the skinny hole again. Alright, we know how this goes. As a kid, I saw a horror film. I think the main part was kids disappearing in narrow cracks like this. Son of a motherless goat. The outer shell they built around Himmler's bunker in '44 was originally only supposed to be about 40 centimeters of space between that and the existing one inside. It was then to be filled up with gravel to better absorb a direct hit. The bombs they now feared in 1944 was the weight of 2,500 to 5,000 kilos. That's why the new reinforcement. On January 21st, 1945, the last security units left the area, and German soldiers under the leadership of General Eduard Hauser, the head of the SS Sonderkommando from Division 605, was tasked to blow up Hochwald, and he did an exceptional job, except for Himmler's bunker still stands. These are enormous structures, and we'll be seeing quite a few of these. But I'm looking for the inner ring of defense, which might today just be a hole in the ground. First bunker we see here. There's still a running trench along the forest floor. So there was one inner ring of defense. And here is another that has been blown up very well. It appears that the good General Hauser did an exceptional job destroying everything in the area. You see the wall has fallen over. This was at one point the roof, which means they actually managed to split it. Now, the bridge, look at that. This was cracked like an egg. And you got the, again, a trench running down here, all the way up next to them. And little and big pieces of this is just scattering the area. This would have been some hell of a blast. Not in the party sense. But yeah, these were outer walls, and this tilted over 45 degrees from the explosion. And until I sit down with a map, I will no longer have. There's part of the air intake. This piece did not belong here. It blew here. Here and came down here. Here more pieces of it. And here it's completely destroyed. There's no entrance on this, since it's part of it flipped over 45 degrees. It's a shame. So one thing I'll say, if you are megalomaniacal, crazy dictator, and you build cool things and big castles, when your time is up, don't destroy it. You know, just think of it as future legacy, whatever you want. Don't destroy the crap you build. We might want to turn it into, I don't know, a museum or Harley shop. Well, to our right are the majority of the bunkers. I'm going to walk down here to see if I can find some perimeter or discover if they're on both sides of the road. At the road, gravel. A lot of the gravel on the road here that you see actually came from places like Der Riese. When all those slave laborers, they dug out the stone, it was multi-purposed. They were digging in and they were using all this for road construction throughout their territories, as well as, of course, bunker building. But this black stone we've seen before. We're a good 300 meters away from the first destroyed positions. And it's very hard to tell if this was a foundation of something. I would expect foundations of a guardhouse at the very least. Most of the buildings here were these wooden, beautiful chalet-style buildings. Makes it very hard to find any of them since there's no map of where exactly they were. Himmler had an office in one of them, and most of the work was performed inside these. Also, Himmler would host several international dignitaries, such as here the Prime Minister of India, Subhas Chandra Bose, and also he would host the Grand Mufti Amin al-Husseini, who eventually ended up getting his own SS division. I will say, here next to the road is an unnaturally large indent in the ground parallel to it. The place fell without a fight. There was no battle going on here. They had time to destroy everything, blow it up and leave before the Red Army came in. And the first, after the Russian fighting troops cleared the area, was the Smersh teams that dug through everything, and Russians, being very meticulous, most definitely found everything that was to be found. I doubt the Germans buried anything out here, as they had time to evacuate somewhat orderly. But here we have something that is again man-made. The trees are less than 75 years. It could be vehicle secured. It could be a place to safely store vehicles. Has about 6 feet deep, enough for, say, a Himmler's car to sit here in case of air raids, although none were ever known to have happened here. I was going to say I don't see any piece of cement or concrete or anything in here. Let me see, maybe I do. The bottom is very... Oh, there's this piece of a tree that's ironed for some reason. So it was probably deeper than this at the time, since the bottom is covered with leaves. I mean, not the main road. The road, vehicle grave, and here's what looks like either another one or a small trench. And here we go again, spiders. Again, a man-made. And what over here? What have we here? This is a foundation of something. Yes, it is. About 150 meters up from the two destroyed bunkers. And here's a red brick foundation. And we have 9-degree angles, so this was a building. Yeah. There's a building here that probably a staircase. This building leads right up to what looked like the vehicle storage. Obviously there have been office buildings, structures, places for the guard crew to sleep. Hollow, so it would have been a chimney. This could have been the chimney that's fallen over. It has that shape. Yeah. This was a small building that probably had a wooden structure, top structure. And cropping in here. And here's more. When I say a little building, this is the same building, and it looks like it is. This is a bigger building than I thought. Because it does seem to go all the way over here. A rather large foundation, to be quite honest. And here's more of it. If this was demolished, which would have been a lot easier to do, the walls would all have fallen outwards, which it does look like they did. Makes it a little harder. This is not foundation, this is a piece of the wall. You look at the shape of the bricks. And here's another, looks like a vehicle grave, or another dugout here. Yeah, another dugout on the other side of the building. And now I wonder if there's another building here next to it. In the same pattern as before. There's not, however, there's a running trench into another hole. So we're looking at a more and more elaborate trench system, which would tactically, I would not think this would be the inner trench, and in fact I don't think it is. Here's another one of those, but this was round, so this could have been a brook that I'll try not to fall into. What is this? So there's a round pipe, and another half pipe down there. So there's 2/4 of the pipe and then one in the center. And a trench could also have been a cable trench. Again, without having designed the layout with me of what this, but there's an elaborate system of trenches here and a small concrete hole here. This was not a fighting position. This could have been a vent, this could have been a lot of things. I do not yet know. And here's another trench.
I'm expecting to find a lot of tunnels and trenches for utility and sewage and so on, but there's a lot more that looks different than I thought.
I'll honestly say I'm a little surprised at the number of trenches this close to the large bunkers. These trenches that should then at least somewhat be circular, and here's more. Could be a machine gun position. Again, it's hard to tell. Probably also people have been digging out here. This looks more like a two-man position with a small mound. Little things down here. We're looking at a lot of footprints in the ground here that I'm not really able to identify. The trees are, they could be about 75 years, so the trees would not have been here, which means it's hard to tell already by that definition. There's no trees here. The nature had a lot of time to fill in with overgrowth. But they would want to have covered this up, one would think. So there were trees on probably the roofs of the bunkers. A lot of netting, and trees would have been planted closer. So with the trench system here and the this direction behind us are the two main bunkers that I've found so far. Here's the foundation of a house. Red brick, parallel to the ground. What's this? So, if it wasn't for the red brick, I would just say this was a running trench. However, could also have been a cable trench. There would have been transformers, some way of producing electricity. Cement foundation. The other foundation over there was in red brick. and then trenches running away from it. Without a map of the layout, it's very hard to determine what was what at the time of operation. And it's not like the SS published their construction plans. And here's another vehicle dugout. That is what I have determined that it is, because I've seen those verified in Denmark and other forests where German forces were stationed. Same shape, same diameter. And there's more very subtle footprints in the ground of something having been here possibly more. Nature does reclaim everything sooner or later. The Tino section. That is leading back down to the main bunkers. Here's an earth mound behind the trash can. Looks rather large, actually. This is a far larger hole than the holy hell. Okay, alright, it's fine. Spider in my hair. I'll suck it up. This is a very, very large hole. Easily 30 by 30 meters. I don't see any piece of... Alright, I'm sorry. I'm just throwing spiders out of their homes here. What are you gonna do? Sorry. This is huge. This really is huge. Now this is definitely from the right time. Whatever it was blown up well. One thing that's fairly obvious to me is that this SS complex was not nearly as large and as elaborate as many others, and certainly of course not as large as the army's or Hitler's headquarters compounds. It obviously would be protected and hidden in the same way. I'm going parallel with the road, close to towards the large bunkers we've seen that were destroyed. See if we find something in the forest floor, although that would be a bit of a miracle, considering how well concealed the large bunkers are, to find any smaller pieces of anything. Well, that would be intervention by a higher power, and I'm not buying it, but I'm crawling through the spider nests just to make sure. So certainly trenches was used for close perimeter defense, inner and outer rings. We knew that, but it's nice to see them. Here they are. So on either side of the roads, obviously there would have been machine gun positions. And more trenches. Or this could have been, this is large enough for it to have been the foundation for a building. It does look very much like a bomb crater, but it does shoot out to the sides. It's hard to tell. I'm surprised that so many of the defensive trenches we've seen have just been earth dugouts, not reinforced concrete or cement or anything. But maybe they're maybe they're somewhere else. Maybe they're closer to the main bunkers or further away. There's another trench running in there. Trenches are literally crisscrossing the neighborhood here.
Compared to Wolf's Lair, life here at Hochwald was not quite as bad. It was designed and built on a slightly higher elevation than Wolf's Lair, so therefore you didn't have to deal with the same amount of swamp, mosquitoes and snakes as Hitler did. Himmler was at all times protected by several close protection units, 20 from the RSD and a unit from the Ordnungspolizei.
There's a lot of man-made trenches in here. The only thing unnatural is a spider crawling up the back of my neck. Sheesh. If you didn't know this was here, I can see why this would have been very hard to find. And this is why you like to have a compass, because you get, it's very easy to get turned around in a place like this and you walk in the wrong direction. So yes, when you're not looking, I am checking. And here is a mound of something that is protruding from the ground. So, and the trench running here parallel again. Trenches everywhere. They could have been wider, but not wide enough for a vehicle. There's a piece of bunker there. Not surprised since there's an actual bunker right there. Completely demolished, impossible to tell anything about it, except it was blown up well. So this is the furthest bunker we have found. That's the bunker we have found that is the furthest away from the others. It is sitting on the trench, and it is smaller than the main ones. So, and here we're coming to another, and you will not see any of this coming off the main road. I guarantee you that. This is not the main road or the path, but if it was, what would I be doing here? This looks like big enough. I'm guessing this would have been the center of it. So it's split here when they blew it up. And down here are the holes. Down here is the inside. What we're standing on here and here is the outer shell. And down there is the main part of the bunker down there. And likewise down there. This was a very large piece here. And this is giving me a good idea that this place was somewhat larger than I first thought. This was one of the regular size bunkers that was blown up. Definitely. But again, it's very hard to tell. You really have to look to see what's what. Underneath it, underneath all the rubble, I don't know if they left anything or they just destroyed it just because. Ow. And here we're back to the trench again. I'll try to go parallel with the trench, see what happens. First one in the trench, leading us over to the next. So the bunkers were connected by a trench system, definitely, and an outer ring of trenches. and an inner ring of trenches. You can see how it's broken apart. And here's the trench again. I'll try to navigate around it this way. Let me look at the side of this thing. You really see the details, the rebar. And this coming over to the next one. Here's actually a path that has been navigated by man. And the trench again. And again, it's been completely destroyed. Split down the middle from the explosion. Here's another piece of it. And we follow the trench. So that was 3 large bunkers in a row with a smaller one on the outside, and the trench coming in here leading back to the part of the complex that's still intact. There's the back side of the 3rd one. And we'll go back here, see what's on the other side. Alright, here we're looking at what would have been side of a building. You got red brick on the ground. This looks like here would have been a building. It's a deep hole over there. Looks like from a foundation. And here you'd have the trenches that would have run throughout the area. Got a large piece over there. And here we have a very deep hole that's a lot longer than its width, and over there is what looked like flooring on that foundation piece. It's hard to tell what would have been around here. It's the large bunker, the largest intact bunker for the running trenches. There's still pieces blown off the side of it. Have trenches here, and then that very large deep hole over here I would think used to be a building, but it's very hard to tell what it was. Except red brick, and they look like they're positioned in the right position. Great work. And I'm thinking this looks like foundation. This looks like it could be flooring. What this used to be. Yeah, this very, very deep hole here could have been underground garage. There's a foundation to leading up next to this. Looks like, hell, I don't know what it looks like. That's the problem here. This could have been, again, here you have a piece of a wall. You have something that looks like a smaller piece, and again over there as well, but it is hard to tell if they were once connected and they were part of that large hole and they were once united in that large hole. It's very, very hard to tell. It was very well exploded indeed. Got a lot of rubble and brick here, unlike the pieces of the main bunker. So this must have been, again, housing. There must have been a house here. Here's another piece of a foundation. Regular brick are strewn all over the area. And here's a piece of a wall that fell over. I do wonder if there's anything underground. This would have been top of a chimney, made in the same brick as that piece with the hole over there and there. So this was a chimney that was placed. This is a little strange. Could have started there, which means underneath here is an underground building. Here's the large bunker, the first one, with the cracked walls, and here's a piece of something. Well, this used to be a wall. It used to be vertical. So this was a piece of something that was blown over here. It's a very, very large, several ton piece full of rebar sitting there. And here's another, and here's another piece. Wait, this, so okay, so we have two pieces of L-shaped. Damn, it's hard to see what this was. It is very destroyed, and this continues. And there are more pieces. And again, this would have been cast with these lines parallel to the ground. So this again is a piece of something that was demolished and thrown here by the explosion. From what I understand, they blew Himmler's bunker as the one that was destroyed. It must have taken quite a lot to destroy these. As we heard out on the east wall, was it 1 kilogram per square meter? It's a very large piece of cement. Remember, inside all of it, there's an additional amount of rebar of steel. So this whole mountain, a little piece of rebar sticking out. Honestly, it will not be long. It will not be very long before nature reclaims this completely, and it'll be impossible to tell what's underneath. But from the terminology we picked up on the east wall, this was blown up well. It's impossible to tell what it was, but it was blown up very well, and it was very large, and pieces of it are scattered throughout the forest floor. Rebar sticking out of it everywhere. It must have split here. You see how coarse the gravel inside it is. It's, for every mound, there literally is a bunker underneath, or pieces of one. And there's smaller pieces everywhere. It makes me wonder every time I stand on a little mountain or something, or see a hole in the ground, I would imagine it has some relevance to what we're doing. The forest is very dense here. It would have been very hard to see through it, especially from the air. I doubt very much air surveillance would have picked any of this up the way it was constructed and camouflaged. You have more rubble and another very large piece over there. It's impossible to tell, but it gives you an idea of the scale of how large this was. It really, it's the most prehistoric castle-like atmosphere over these, and I guess in some 100 years it will be considered as such. Now that I've seen the bunkers that were here, a few smaller ones, a few slightly bigger ones, and then this one, which was clearly the biggest one of them all, which is probably why it was allowed to remain standing. They probably could not blow it. They tried, but it's still here.
There's an extraordinary amount of reasons why I'm going to keep coming back to East Prussia. There's a lot of things I haven't found that I would like to see. And with new maps in hand, it's going to be interesting to digging through the outer perimeters of some of these great places. I'm going to start getting and arranging tours so you guys can come with me and enjoy the landscapes, the spiders and the bugs and the mosquitoes. But for now, I have to go back to Western Europe. I go to the Maginot Line, Fort Ibn Amal, I have to go up to Denmark, Norway, Czechia, and I have to go visit Maybach 2 and 1, see if I can find what's missing. Keep up, follow, like. I hope you enjoy what I do so I can keep going.